Kaboom. So today is multiplication and division and multi-step, right? Now, the multiplication and division, I think, as you know, is actually a little different than solving the equation. It's the only thing that's really different is what do you do when you multiply or divide. So we should have already copied these properties, right? That was the extra credit homework after the test. But again, what's different about solving by multiplying and dividing? Well, it's not just if there's a negative, it's if you divide or multiply by a negative number, then you need to flip the inequality symbol. A less than becomes a greater than becomes a less than. And when you say, like, if there's a negative, I've seen where you solve by multiplying or dividing by a positive number, but there is a negative number somewhere involved, and you think maybe I've got to switch it, but you don't, right? You can have negative numbers elsewhere. It's only if you multiply or divide by a negative, that's when you flip it. Okay, and why is that? Why is it that we have to switch? I will show you. So let's say on a number line, I've got 0 in the middle, and 1 and 2. And on the other side, I've got -1 and -2. So when you flip the sign, it flips what's bigger, right? If 1 is less than 2, but -2 is less than -1. So by multiplying by a negative, you're essentially just jumping to the other side of 0. So it's going to flip what's less than and what's greater than. So that's why we have to do it. Okay. So first problem. X over 4 is less than 5. Isolate the variable by doing operations to both sides. What operation are we going to do? Multiply by 4. Right? So 4 times x over 4 is less than 4 times 5. 4's cancel. That's why we did it. X is less than 20. Graph your solution. 20. Open or close circle? Open. Shade to the left or the right? It says less. So on the number line, left means left. I'm going to do it like this because I'm not happy with the way that's going. So easy stuff. Too easy. So do that one. That'll be your you try. I'll give you 5 seconds. Done? Come on. This is easy stuff. Let's go.
Yeah, but I can't write that fast.
What's the number that goes on our number line? Is it open or closed circle? Is it shaded to the left or to the right? Right. This is your left. Yeah, it would help to know your left from your right, or to know how many know what with your hands like this, right? Tell me which way does a vertical line go?
No.
Vertical goes up and down, right? Horizontal goes like this, like the horizon. I did that in an Algebra 2 class years ago, right? Because it comes up. You got to know this stuff. I said, okay, now which way does a vertical line go? And it was about 50-50. And when there's only two choices, 50-50 is what you get when you guess, right? So I wasn't too thrilled about that. Okay, let's see. Okay, now here's where it gets a little complicated. Okay, what am I going to have to do to isolate the variable? Okay, and what do I have to remember to do when I multiply by -6? So I'm going to show you what I do when I do this, because, you might just go, well, I'm going to multiply by -6 like this, right? -6, -6. And guess what? At that moment, it's wrong, right? Because I have the wrong symbol in between. The moment I multiply by the negative, that symbol's got to change. So I usually write it on a new line, not the same. You could keep it straight. If you want to go back and erase, that'll work.
What about if I just change at the end?
You got to remember to do it.
Yeah.
I think
If I
that,
do the work and then just flip the sign after.
if it ends up being right, then that'll be okay. But I'll go back and look and see, it has to be good work. So I would usually do it like this: -6 times x over -6, and then at that moment switch it, and then -6 times 7. So now I can cancel the -6's. X is greater than -42. Okay, let's practice our left and our right again. Should I have a open or closed circle? Open. And should I shade to the left or to the right? Kendall? To the right. Okay, good. We're making real progress today.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it if you multiply by a negative number or divide
Right.
by negative?
Right.
Which one? Those?
Either one. Because remember, when we had to do the operations with real numbers in the first unit, we defined division as multiplying by the reciprocal. They really are like the same operation. So yeah, it's the same. It works for both. It's the same for both. So okay, so there's your you try. I'll give you 7.5 seconds for this one. 50% more difficult. Oh, it's still early. I thought it was a lot later. What's the number that goes in the middle?
-48.
-48. All right. Is it open or closed circle? All right, I can tell that much already. Okay, now the tricky part. Shade to the left, shade to the right. Left? Are you sure? -4 times x over -4 is less than -4 times 12. Cancel, cancel. X is less than -48. So you are correct. Okay, try another one. Okay, what number went in the middle? Holy mackerel. -11.2? Are you sure? Is it open or closed circle? Shaded to which side? To the right? Okay, we got to verify this. -7 times m over -7 is greater than -7 times 1.6. So m is greater than -11.2, shaded to the right. Correct. So the division property works the same way, right? You can divide an inequality by the same thing, and you get an equivalent inequality. Just if you do it with a negative number, then you need to flip the inequality, right? So, for example, -3x is greater than 24. What do I have to do to isolate the variable? Divide by -3. So when I do that, I'm going to do it on a new line and flip the symbol at that point. Right? The -3's cancel. X is less than -8. I don't know why they never use or equal to, but it's really bad. And less than is which direction, Kendall? All right. Okay. So do both of those. So I'm going to graph solutions, especially the one on the left. We don't need to show the, what was the number you put in the middle? It was a 9 because you divided by 5, right? 5, 5. Did you use open or closed circle? And did you shade to the right or to the left? Okay, what about on the left, on number 7? What was the number in the middle? -4. Was it open or closed circle? And was it shaded to the right or the left? Right. At the moment when you divide by -6, that becomes a greater. So it's n is greater than -4. Okay. A student pilot plans to spend 80 hours on flight training to earn a private license. The student has saved $6,000 for training. Which inequality can you use to find the possible hourly rates that the student can afford to pay for training? Which one of these 4? Should it be a greater than or equal to 6,000 or a less than or equal to 6,000? Yeah, I mean 6,000 is the limit of how much could be spent, right? You can't spend 6,001 because you don't have it saved up. So it's definitely got to be a less than or equal to 6,000. At that point, there's only one of them that could work, right? B. But he's going to do 80 hours times some hourly rate, which you don't know. So you set that up. 80 times the hourly rate. It's got to be less than 6,000. Now you can go out and start making phone calls and see how much people charge. So B is the right answer. See, that's a real world. It says we're supposed to do real world. Wow, that's great. Spot the errors. Find the errors. Okay, Victoria. Yeah, it was you had to divide by a -15. So at the moment they did that, they should have flipped that sign. Should have been less. How about that one? Micah?
Wait a minute. You changed the sign when it wasn't supposed to be this sign. You added multiplied by 9 by 7. You changed the sign. So you weren't supposed to multiply by the
Okay.
negative.
Okay. Well, this was a negative number, but this is exactly the thing I was trying to say. Sometimes students will ask, at least they'll ask, do I need to change the sign because that's a -7? No, because you multiply by a +9. Don't flip the sign. It's okay that there's negative numbers involved, right? Just remember. Okay, that was the whole multiply and divide section. Okay, then we get to the two-step inequalities, which is just like two-step equations. We're going to have to do two things. What are the two things that we have to do to this to isolate the variable? Add 7, divide by 3. So you do that one step at a time, right? 3x minus 7 is less than 8. Actually, we add 7. 3x is less than 15. Divide 3. Divide 3. X is less than 5. Graph. Always a graph. Open circle on 5. Shade to the left. Okay. So let me think. What should we do next? How about a you try? You say that every time. Do you know that? Like that. Okay. So we can add 5. Divide by 2. X is less than or equal to 14. Okay, so this one will be a little more difficult just because there's a decimal involved and it's got a negative. It's a two-stepper with a negative involved. This is what I'll do. Now, I know that if you were doing this problem, you're probably first thing you're going to do is distribute, right? Probably the first thing I would do is multiply times 10 so I didn't have to deal with decimals. But I know that because you've got calculators anyways, you wouldn't. Another option, though, instead of distributing, is divide. Get rid of the negative 0.6 first. So I'm going to do that. Negative 0.6 times x minus 5 divided by negative 0.6. And then I switch the symbol at that step. And now I have 15 divided by negative 0.6. Right? These cancel. X minus 5 is greater than or equal to. What's 15 divided by negative 0.6? Jonathan. What is 15 divided by negative 0.6? Somebody with a calculator. Say again. Negative 25. Okay, last step. Add 5. Add 5. X is greater than or equal to negative 20. Close circle. Shaded to the right. So I think the next one is a you try for you because you love them, right? Quiet, please. Hey, we're not done yet. And Drew. Right? Close circle. Shade. I think you get another. Try that one. Okay, what? Quiet, please. So again, what do you recommend as the first step? And what do you do as the first step?
You're right.
Quiet, please. Okay. So at the step when you go negative 4 times negative 1/2 times p minus 12, you flip the symbol, and now we have negative 4 times negative 2. You're right. I was looking at that going, what did I just do wrong? That was a 4. So now the negatives cancel, the 4s cancel. P minus 12 is less than 8. Add 12. Add 12. P is less than 20. You got to, do you distribute first? Yeah. If you distribute first, then what would you have gotten? You would have gotten negative 1/4 P plus 3, right, is greater than negative 2. Then you would add to subtract 3 to get negative 5. Then you would multiply by negative 4 to get positive 20. Same thing. So graph, 20 in the middle, open, left, left. Now at this point you may be thinking, what else could we possibly do? This is kind of, when we were solving equations, it goes from multi-step to variables on both sides. This is clearly variables on both sides. And do you want to stop paying attention this way? Start paying attention this way. So they're not breaking it into two different sections. Multi-step is going to include this. So what would we recommend to do as a first step here? Sarah? How? Okay, because there's variable terms on both sides, then we're going to subtract 2x. What if you subtracted 6x? Yeah. Well, you could do that. We always recommend start with the variable terms. Get the variable terms to the side that have the bigger variable term first. So you got to identify which is the smallest of the two variable terms, 2x, right? And so you subtract 2x. I mean, this is actually the perfect place to see why we recommend to do that. So if I do that, I'm going to get negative 2x, and now I have 4x minus 7 is greater than 17. Now, if I would have done the opposite, right? Quiet, please. 6x minus 7 is greater than 2x plus 17. And let's say that I subtract 6x from both sides. Then I would have negative 7 is greater than negative 4x plus 17. And so I introduced a negative coefficient on x, which means when I solve, I'm going to have to flip the sign. So we're trying to avoid that by moving to the side which is bigger coefficient. That's why we do it, because it simplifies what happens later. You could do it any way you want. You could even do like Portia said, you could add 7 in the first step. But it's not recommended, but you could do it that way. So if I'm going to finish, I'll finish the one on the left. Add 7, 4x is greater than 24, divide 4, x is greater than 6. Open circle on 6, shade to the right. So again, just like solving an equation. Nothing that we didn't already kind of practice when we solved equations. Go ahead, try that one. So what did you do as the first step? Ariana? Plus 12? What's the recommended first step, Portia? Subtract the smaller variable term, right? Get it to the other side. You could still do the plus 12 as long as you do everything else correct. You'll be right, okay? So subtract 3x, 2x minus 12, less than or equal to negative 4. Look right? Guess I learned something. So notice the directions on these two. If possible. So this kind of should make you remember when we were solving equations that sometimes they would give you, yeah, you might get like a no solution or an identity kind of thing. Same thing can happen with inequalities. So these are the two that I'll do quickly. 14x plus 5 is less than 14x minus 21 minus 14x minus 14x. 5 is less than negative 21. So again, we get to a statement which does not have a variable in it. That means it doesn't depend on the variable. It's either always true or always false. Is that true or false? False. So no solution. So nothing you could have plugged in at the beginning was ever going to solve that. No solution. Okay, the other one, how do you think that'll work out? 12x minus 1 is greater than 12x minus 6. Subtract 12x. Subtract 12x. Negative 1 is greater than negative 6. So no variable, either always true or never true. Is that true? So it's always true. So you would say the solution is all real numbers. And if you had to graph it, and sometimes they actually ask you to graph it, it's the whole number line. Right? The solution is all real numbers. And the graph looks like everything. Right? What does it look like if you graph no solution? Nothing. Right? Yeah, usually you don't graph that, but so I think you have your last you try. Sad to tell you, but they have to come to an end. I think one of those is probably a no solution, and one of them is probably all real numbers. Figure out which one is which. Which one was no solution? The first one was no solution. And the second one was all real numbers. I mean, if you just do a little bit of simplifying, right? 5m plus 25 is less than 5m plus 17. So when I cancel the 5m's, 25 is less than 17? No solution. And on the other side, 1 minus 8s is less than or equal to negative 8s plus 4. Should I flip the sign? Right. I didn't multiply both sides by negative. I just distributed on the right. That's fine. Okay, now the negative 8s's cancel. So 1 is less than or equal to 4. All reals. Any number you plug in is going to satisfy that. Spot the errors. Again? Holy mackerel. This is not the same one we did before, is it? No, it's multi-step. But they didn't flip the inequality symbol, so that's wrong. Okay, when you distribute negative 4 times negative 3, it should have been a plus 12. Mistake. They're just trying to highlight the errors that students make. That's it. And they're pretty good. That's how I like it. Thankfully, that's it. So what does it mean when I put TBD? To be determined, right? I'm not sure whether next class we might have a quiz. If it will, it'd be a pop quiz. Pop. Yeah. So if you already went ahead with the page 366, then you're already done with that. And then you just have that. That's added from the section we added. Okay. 366 was the second of the two. I put it on the board and some people did it. But if you didn't do it, you still need to do that. And then this, nobody got yet. Could you what? No. Sorry. Just a second.